welcome. This is Jesse Newman. We are here with Noah Jarrett, MusicWorks Session 309. MusicWorks Session 309, real talk, real music talk with the amazing Noah Jarrett. So good to have you. You guys may have seen Noah before on some of our programs that we did for younger kids. We had a great jazz trio episode earlier, but he is back. The kids have been put away, put to bed, put in front of the TV, whatever it is that you do with kids when you don't want them around. And so, yes, they are not here, and we can finally talk about all this other stuff.
It's been a long time waiting, Jess.
Hey Noah, it's great to see you, man. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good. We were just a moment ago, before we hit the record button, we were discussing our mutual trials and tribulations with Verizon Wireless and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you saw, but this thing came across my news ticker that YouTube and Netflix are all lowering their sampling rate. Have you seen this? Or lowering they're going from like high def to standard def, like as a courtesy to the internet community.
Lowest of the low. Yeah, that's my speed. You know?
Yeah, I don't like high def. You know, I like standard.
$1.99.
Yeah, sometimes they try to put the high test gasoline in my car. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
The cheapest one you got. I wanna make it work. Yeah. Anyway, it's good to have you here. We're all dealing with technology and trying to get to flatten one curve and learn the other learning curve. And but I'm excited to sit down and talk with you a little bit this evening. I wondered if you could just start by talking to me a little bit about the difference between being an acoustic bass player and being an electric bass player. I'm gonna get out of my go onto the share screen, and I'm going to give the world a little view at my tiny altar to Noah Jarrett. And here we've got a nifty little photo of you clapping your hands, which I know what that's about, with your acoustic around your neck. And then here we've got an electric, and obviously in the in-betweens, one of the bands that you play in that we're going to talk a little bit more, you do both. So, like, how does that work? Are they both part of the same animal? Are they totally different? I know some people are purists, some people go back and forth. What's your take on it?
I think there are a lot of different takes on it. I mean, you can be a purist in one side or the other, be a total electric person and kind of naysay the upright, and vice versa. And I think, yeah, for me it breaks down to, yes, leaning a certain direction. I definitely feel more akin to upright because of its real acoustic and sonoric possibilities, the bowing of it, but I can get in the electric mood, and I think there are places absolutely for it, given that I err on the upright side for most of the music that I prefer listening to and participating in. They are different beasts. I learned electric first, which I think helped me at least visualize the whole span of the fingerboard of the upright. I felt like that was a blessing, a good direction, a good order. But I quickly fell in love with the upright and kind of just had the electric. I wasn't working extra hard on it. I was keeping it afloat. And then there were times where bands came into the picture, especially Barkey, which was a progressive trio.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Barkin and Brooke Martinez for some years. That was an absolute electric bass outfit, and a string, which even made it a little more the low end, make it count more. But other than that, I don't ever prefer to play jazz, vernacular kind of stuff on the electric. I like the soul that an upright can automatically give a note. And then there are different skills to accentuate the music the best on each instrument.
Yeah, I think I don't know how you feel about it. One of the banes of the bass player existence to me seems that the now that everything is so amplified, that sometimes the acoustic bass just becomes like another amplified instrument in a large loud band, when in fact, if anyone who's ever been really close to an acoustic bass, I mean, it's just such a tremendous world of sound. Like, the dynamic range is so incredible. You know, when you first pick it up, it's like this big hunky clunky thing, and you know, if anyone is ever like, you know, we've all picked up a guitar and given it a strum. If you try to strum an acoustic bass, it's like they're like bridge cables. You know, it's a different kind of thing. But when you're standing next to someone, and I've been lucky to play with you many times, who really knows the instrument, there's such a dynamic range. There's such a just a tone range, both like high to low, and the types of tones you can get, and the interplay between the strings and the space inside, and the wood, and the sound of the fingers on the wood. It's like it's a really complicated, and I can understand why someone like yourself would, you know, it's not just a matter of like, well, I'm playing a low note, so should I put a low note on this instrument or this instrument? There's really it's really a world unto itself.
There's a breadth to each note that you don't that you can find in maybe a cello or other kind of instruments like that.
Sure.
If I was to go back again, I might become some of my favorite bass role players are actually cellists, that like Ernst Reidseeger from Clouseau Trio, and people of that instrument has such a nice wide range and
sure
abilities. If you can really, there are a lot of players out there that can really utilize the pizzicato and a lot of the same sonorities that I love about the bass, but the bass just automatically has that dirt and growl and something special. Yeah,
it's an animal that sits patiently on its leash, but don't provoke it. Don't.
Which animal you have?
Depending on which, yeah. Did you work on basses with Gage?
With David Gage, yeah.
Yeah, what's that like? Tell us about that.
That was, it was a really great experience. It was a 9-to-5 job, which I wasn't at all used to. At that point, I was working at Angelica Kitchen in Lower East Side too, and then applied and got an apprenticeship there. But yeah, I mean, I put a whole new bass bar on my bass, and
at the time you started working there, he was already known and established as like this master bass craftsman. Okay, so he was like well in the thing. Yeah.
Yep. And you would be amazed at the traffic who came in, and
sure.
And I definitely even meeting Mamadou Jabate, who I played with, player, he got his pickup there, so that was a meeting ground for us starting to play.
Cool.
And Ron Carter and everybody.
Oh man, yeah. Nice. Speaking of some of you were saying some of your heroes as bass players and the people you admire. We had talked a little bit about music you're listening to, and you mentioned this song by Charlie Haden. So I wonder if maybe we could pull that up. I'm gonna go back to the screen and tell us a little bit about how you came to Charlie Haden and what you see. Why should we be interested in him?
Well, I was actually born. I probably met Charlie Haden as a baby within a month of being born.
Wow.
He was hanging.
Okay.
I'm from a musician family.
Okay.
And so Charlie, yeah, there was even a story. It was like, I think he might have joined us the night before, or joined my mom and my older brother Gabe the night before to see Pete's Dragon.
Wow.
That was with great movie. Remember that old movie?
I do, and I'm not sure that how deep down this rabbit hole you want to go. But now I'm thinking about Gabe and the Pete's Dragon, and it's all
yeah. But it'll be quick.
No, go do it. How is Gabe, by the way?
He's great.
Good. Tell him I said hello.
I will.
Cool.
But yeah, so Charlie was somebody who I heard play all the time without thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
In recordings, and he wasn't my first favorite. I like Mingus, Dave Holland were like some of my first bass player heroes, kind of typical. But I only really discovered that I loved him later in my career or in my studies. Probably after college did I really dive into all of his music, the Liberation Music Orchestra, and all my father's American quartet stuff. So, but basically this song, I love the way it moves. And the emotion it gives. And the non-flashiness of it.
Yeah.
Elemental.
Let's listen to a little bit of this song, Silence, and then we'll talk a little more about what's going on. Man, when you say the word non-flashy as a trumpet player, thinking about Chet Baker is like the same kind of thing comes to mind. And I know that, and at a certain point in his career, Chet's like physical health was really deteriorating. He was a drug addict and really had a tough time, like just physically maintaining. And trumpet is such a physical instrument, but even with like his sort of chop issues, like there's something about his sound that always kind of came through. It was like the most bare version of itself that it could be and still maintain itself. And it's really beautiful. Like, I mean, even if you didn't know anything about his playing before, his history, like I think it's still beautiful. So that's certainly like works with Charlie.
A universal reaction I think we get to some sounds.
Yeah. So this song, Silence, which has no silence in it because it's basically chord, 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 there is a real continuity in the way these chords move through. It's very simple, and he's basically just sort of voice leading the triads down. Let's listen one more time to the original piano version, and then I have some other versions I want to talk about. There's like a real kind of like almost like a deadness in his sound. I know that sounds like a terrible word to use, but
in both of their sounds,
Yes.
And you can't disconnect it from their past, their human past, each of them, drug past too. But I think they were both just so ripe with this, like, so many things in there. Romance is in there, but loneliness is in there, and like plaintiveness, and all these sparing but illuminating kind of musical. It's great to find in music, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I was just having a discussion with somebody the other day about, you know, like, why is it that when we're feeling upset, we're going through a breakup, we listen to breakup songs? You know, it's like, why is it that? And I don't care, anyone who says they don't do that is just lying, because they all do that. And like, why do we, you know, like, why do we sit at home and listen to, like, someone kind of rehash exactly what we're feeling? And, you know, like, for me, it seems like it boils down to shared experience. It's like it's a healthy, universal way to, like, feel something through someone else is telling you, like, it's okay, like, I've been there too. And, you know, like, even if we haven't dealt with some of those things you just mentioned, it's really hard to avoid a little bit of chill and tingle when you listen to something like that, especially in a situation that's so spare like this, the one you just played.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, but I do find myself wanting, and they do. Chet does explore further past this sparing melody. Yourself wanting that, you know.
Yeah.
Go there with this, you know. But it's still like a. It comes from a really sweet spot.
Yeah. Yes.
And come back to this sweet, lonely spot together, you know.
Right. I wanted to play a little bit of another version. So this is that large ensemble you were talking about. Same tune, but they go through, like, a different kind of permutation. What are your immediate thoughts, just in terms of the change in the message, or is there none?
No, there is. I mean, I feel like it always reminds me of something, you know, for lack of a better word, south of our border, or or in the clay kind of adobe dirt somewhere. There's something, you know, Latino about it.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought about that. But yeah, go ahead.
I think that both of them have that just in their nature, something classical, almost Portuguese, or, you know, I know that Charlie played a lot with Carlos Paredes, who was a Portuguese guitarist too, but all of this was pointed, this band is pointed towards that area of the world.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to help Brazil and other parts of South America with their music, in essence, but and Cuba. But I feel like this one just has a little more of a nice classical lushness to it, but almost a Cuban kind of classical lushness. So I like it a lot. I mean, and these guys they really just add and get crazier with this.
So now we've finally got the bass line here, and we're halfway into the song, and he doesn't enter until halfway through, which I think says something right there.
Sure. Can you turn that up a little bit?
Yeah.
And his bass note choices are always stellar. Just all out of air by the end.
Yeah. I have to stop because we're both like being silly and laughing, but we're not making fun of it. It's just that is the only natural thing that could happen at that moment, is that this kind of like ridiculous rip roaring whatever. Who's playing trumpet on that? Do you know?
I think
Is it Don Cherry?
Been in there.
Yeah.
Michael Mantler might have been in there. Like
Man.
Definitely Dewey.
Yeah. It's awesome. Let me play that part out. Let's hear it out. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
They're on course 15.
Yeah, course 15. I know. But you know what? Just like again, going back to the original, like his the intensity of his bass playing doesn't change. Like he grounds that sort of steers that ship and grounds the energy in the same way. And I mean, this is going to be a very like non-bass player idiotic thing to say, but one of my impressions, and maybe this isn't the best example, music example, but when he's like walking really fast, is that he often will play the same note 2 or 4 or more times in a row, like, and when you're constructing bass lines, bass players are usually outlining the harmony, and he's just kind of like,
it's against the rule, or it's not.
Right. It's like, you would think that's like an elementary kind of thing to not do, and yet he just has this attitude of like, here is the note. Would it be weird? Could you demonstrate like a Charlie Haden-y kind of version of like how he might?
Of course, but
or not. Let me rephrase it. I'll edit that out. Right. We're laughing, but he does that thing where he'll just stay on that note, and it's like the simplicity of it is like really grounding and super badass, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like someone who doesn't know the changes. So like if you didn't know the song and you were just like, oh my god, like I hope we don't get to another chord anytime soon because I'm still trying to figure it out. But that's not what happens with him.
No.
Could you maybe demonstrate like maybe do a chorus of a blues, like just the way you would do it normally, and then maybe try to demonstrate like kind of like how he might do that, like in without being too goofy about it, like, because it's kind of a cool thing to see a bass player do.
Right. 10 more minutes. Dinner's on in 10 minutes.
Dinner's on in 10?
But
all right, we'll play for 9 minutes.
Got a tight ship in quarter.
I should have queued up an example, but I'd rather watch you do it.
Second.
Yeah.
that natural light faded fast.
Oh, that's okay. Let's see. Maybe I'll get a little of my sunset glow here. Cool. Yeah. So like, give us a couple of choruses of just like you playing a regular blues.
Sure. Charlie's coming up.
Okay. Man, that's so awesome.
It wasn't.
It's okay. That's not ending isn't what Charlie would do. Yeah. All right. You're relieved of your bass duties. That you've fulfilled your requirement. I appreciate it. Man, yeah, it's awesome listening to you do that. It's like so had you ever asked him about it, or do people talk about that? Like what? Like is it just an efficiency thing? Like what is that?
Does?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and I mean this in a totally non-sarcastic, serious way. Like, it's such a cool thing that he does. It does not at all seem gimmicky, but it's so recognizable. And, you know, even you doing it, like, I could hear your brain kind of go into this different space. And, like, what is that about his walking style?
First of all, he never really plays on blueses.
Uh-huh.
Think of him as playing the changes of a blues. But because I mean, so many of the things he does are kind of built the way he plays in it, and how Ornette and Dewey and Don played at that time. I feel like that's where he got comfortable doing that stuff, because because they picked or they didn't pick, they landed in a new harmonic world. And they brought the other guys along. And
right.
Occasionally he would make that choice, and they just all were comfortable making overt choices to put a new spin on the melody.
I wonder if maybe part of it comes from like there was so much sort of freewheelingness about, like, so much kind of like wild and crazy, like harmonic jumping around, and with that sort of new phase of free jazz, it's almost like he was the balance or the ballast to that, in like, I'm gonna just lay this down.
Yeah, even if they didn't follow, it was kind of like that was a part of his evening things out, balance.
Yeah. It's super cool. I have a song of yours that you had shared with me, and I wonder if maybe we could take a listen. There's some pretty I won't say obvious, but there's some nice similarities between the song that we've been listening to of Charlie's and then also what's going on in yours. So while I cue that up, tell me a little bit about this song, Reminiscence, and the band New Moon that you played it in.
Yep. It's actually Reminiscence.
Oh, Reminiscence.
Be such a geek.
You are a geek, but that's okay. I'll allow it.
It had something to do with not just something that brought us back to a feeling, but something kind of deeper in our consciousness. But yeah, I mean, I wrote it I think I wrote it a little before we had that New Moon, made that New Moon self-entitled album in, I don't know, 2005 or 6. But I don't know what to say about it, except that, I mean, similarities are obvious. I don't really want to go into that, except, I mean, harmonically it moves very incrementally and snaky, similar to Silence.
Let's listen to it a little bit. I just have to say off the bat, the sound is amazing. It's such a cool, full, beautiful, lush sound. It's like, it really, no matter what, like you could go on to read your shopping list, like I would still want to listen to it because the sound is so beautiful.
It was a coffee.
What's that?
It was in a coffee shop, abandoned coffee shop in Beacon, New York. And
Where you recorded this?
where we recorded it.
Wow,
And,
cool.
You know, sextet or septet, so yeah, a lot of room to fill.
Cool, I like it. As we go into this solo section, could you tell us who each soloist is and why, what about them made you want to have them in this particular ensemble?
Sure, so I think we're hitting the head again.
Okay.
Time. That's, the intro is the top, sorry that's cut off.
Got it. Okay.
Some of that head on the second half of the page, and I think Lauren Stillman, well, Tony Barba played that first head.
Okay.
Working with him underneath, and now Lauren's taking the head, I believe.
Okay, cool. It's such an they both have such great sounds, and the switch is really cool. Lauren's like, I mean, he's talking about snaky. Like his playing is so like never kind of lands where you think it's gonna land, and it's like a little dizzying in the best possible way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I love both melodies, but I really love the function of the first time, where Tony Barba is just a soulful, big tenor sound.
Yeah.
Breathy but full, and then with Lauren, just like you're hearing him like meet up, and it's really nice the work they both did with that.
Cool. I think we're going into tenor solo now. Let's see what happens here. I didn't mean to
Call me.
assume that a horn solo would come next naturally. I actually really like that you put the bass solo first.
Yeah, we just turned it over.
Just turn it over. Mike Gamble, who's playing guitar behind you, I know we didn't talk about the in-betweens, and we will at a later date, but you two obviously know each other so well. The counterpoint of him behind your solo is super cool. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to hear his solo and your counterpoint underneath that. So it's kind of like the two saxophones flipped. We're going now into flipping that way.
And similar to Silence, yeah, you've got two or more stars in a constellation, and we're just like, one of us might stay near where we were before.
Right.
But everyone else can pivot, and I just love music that can move slowly but colorfully, and doesn't have to be a downer because it's slow. It just is a full, really possible to fill or leave sparse.
That's such a great point, and it's such a hard thing to understand, like to really achieve, not to understand. It's such a great point that slow does not have to mean sad or a downer. I mean, we just saw a perfect example with Charlie, like that song, as slow as it is and as sort of mournful as it is, keeps moving with this love and affection. And you're right, it's like that pivoting around certain things, like also there's something about the way you wrote these chords and the phrasing of it and the number of meters, like it makes it, number of measures makes it move along. But yeah, I totally agree, and I think that you all accomplish that, do a nice job with that in this part. I have to also mention that even though officially Jeff Davis is my favorite drummer ever of all time, and I tell him that every time I see him, Connor would be like my Critics' Choice Award. Connor Elm was playing the drums here.
I wasn't on this. It was actually Rowan Kameni.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And Rich Stein.
Forget it. I hate Rowan Kameni.
I mean, drumming that you're talking about, it's
I love Connor, but anyway, well, Rowan sounds fantastic on this. It's funny, I always think of him as a percussionist because I guess I'm used to seeing him with Sonny's group, but man, he sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and mine was auxiliary percussion.
So Rich is auxilling all kinds of other things too.
Auxilling.
Rich is amazing. Rich, yeah. Talking about Rich, that could be a whole other podcast is talking about Rich Stein.
So, a lot of pudding was had.
What's that?
A lot of chocolate pudding was had.
All right, let's, without interruption, hear the last solos of this song. This is Tony Barba on tenor saxophone. Now, speaking of pivots, you have another pivot now, and you're doing guitar on the melody out.
Forgot about that ending.
Man, Gamble's always got to have the last word. He's always got to have the last word. I joke, of course.
The guitarist thing.
Man, it's such a beautiful song. It's really, really beautiful. I love the example of the pivoting and the way you described it before, that idea of movement and joy within the sadness, and without being too hippy dippy. Like, what a great message, especially for what we're all dealing with right now, is like to take these moments of slowness and these seemingly slow and tedious and monotonous moments, and look for the ways to move them forward.